break out and get something done.
All right, sit back, relax, and strap it down. It'll be Rocky Biddle against Steve Paris and DJ. We'll be back with the rest of the starting lineups right after this.
Chicago White Sox baseball, brought to you by Miller Lite. Grab a Miller Lite. It's Miller time. Your local Ford store. Quality people, quality products. Pepsi, the joy of Pepsi. And by Toyota, a better way every day.
Sky Dome and beautiful Toronto, Canada, where it is Queen Victoria Day. And they are celebrating the Queen's birth. So it's a special day here north of the border. Also, Turn Back the Clock Day. Turning it back to 1977, where we're having a bit of a flashback in the Blue Jays uniforms. You see right there, dating back to 77. Not much of a difference in the uniforms. You can see the difference in the hats right now. Actually, I was here in 93. I wore that same hat, so it's not going that far back. But today, a special day in Canada and on the field, because the Sox need to get something going. You see Buck Martinez, the new manager for the Toronto Blue Jays, stepped right out of the booth and onto the field to take over for Jim Fregosi. Blue Jays, they have been struggling a bit of late. They have only won 3 out of their last 10, whereas you well know the Sox have lost 6 in a row. So it's a battle today between teams that have been struggling. There's Carlos Delgado, the clutch number 3 hitter in the heart of the Blue Jays lineup. That man, he has definitely got some pop and an outstanding player. I don't know, Hawk. I like flashing back. I like these old flashback days. We're playing some good music for us here today.
Oh, I'll tell you, it was terrific, and I love Turn Back the Clock days. If I'm not mistaken, I think that the White Sox were the first ones to implement that. Since then, all the clubs have loved it, adopted it. And in fact, our club was supposed to have their 77 uniforms on today, but we understand they shrunk all the shirts.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we couldn't have a match with the Blue Jays, but it is nice to be here. And it's good to hear some of your flashback dance music. I saw you up here shaking a leg.
I love disco.
Yes, you do. Time right now to have a look at the starting lineup sent out by Jerry Manuel and the joy of Pepsi. Getting things started is Jose Valentin at shortstop. Second place hitter is Tony Graffinino at second base, the DH today. Ray Durham. Mags Ordonez in the cleanup spot. He'll be followed by Jeff Leeper. And the 6th hole is Paul Konerko. Third baseman Herbert Perry hits 7th. Chris Singleton in center field, and closing out is Sandy Alomar Jr. behind the plate. The defense, you have Stewart, Cruz, Mondesi in the outfield. Batista, Gonzalez, Bush, and Delgado around the infield, and Fletcher and Steve Paris on the mound. Steve Paris, he's 2-3 with a 5.97 ERA in 7 starts. He has never faced the Sox. No, he has faced the Sox 1 time. He's 0-1 with a 3.00 ERA. This season, his losses came against Tampa Bay, New York, and Anaheim. He beat Anaheim once, and also Seattle. Paris came over from the Reds. Let's check out the umpires today. Behind home plate is Jim Joyce. First base, Terry Craft. Second base, Bill Miller. And at third base, Jim McKeon. So one of Hawk and my favorite places to come, Toronto, Canada. Let's enjoy a good ball game, and let's have Hawk take it away for us.
All right, DJ, thank you very much. And once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here with WGN Sports. First of a 3-game set. And first of the last 6, we'll have 3 here and 3 in Detroit before coming back home. So before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours, as Jose Valentin will lead it off. Jose hitting at .273, 10 homers. He's driven in 22. Sox come in with that 14-27 mark. They are 5-15 on the road this year. As first pitch strike. Outfield slightly to the right. And that's off the corner. Paris is not going to overpower you. He likes to pitch corners out, corners in.
Well, he's a sinker, slider, changeup pitcher, and his biggest problem is his control. If he starts falling behind, he gets the ball up and gets hit.
That is chopped and it's just foul. So Carlos Delgado thinking he had an out there. But no. And the count 1-2. Sox hitting at .245 as a club with a 5.07 ERA. Last year these two teams met 10 times and they split them. As that's off the corner. Sox arriving in the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah. You tired?
No, I feel good.
Yeah, me too.
There's a breaking ball and the count is full. I would say most of the guys probably put their heads on those pillows about 4:30 or 5.
That's about right.
For me, it was about 5. As that's foul back. Not a big crowd in attendance. Blue Jays averaging 21,197.
Well, the weather is perfect inside, but it was raining big time outside.
Nasty outside. Supposed to be raining tomorrow, Wednesday, and possibly Thursday. As there's ball 4. That is the 17th walk issued in 31 2/3 innings by Paris. DJ just told you his control's been his problem. Right now, let's check out our picks to click. Bill Moore, Skip Ellison, our director and the crew, with Chris Singleton. There you see DJ. Sylvie going to go with Tony Graffinino and Dewey Tomko and all the guys down at Southern Dunes. And they're going to go with our pick, Paul Konerko.
I'm on the move. Look out. I got 3 now.
1 a month. Good lead by Jose. Here's Tony G. Tony hitting at .341, a homer. He's driven in 3. Here at Skydome, 328 down the lines, 375 in the gaps, and 400 straight away center field.
Good hitter's park.
Yes, it is. Well, Blue Jays have 67 home runs, 19 more than the Sox.
They definitely got some pop in their lineup, but it also has a lot to do with the ballpark. Not very difficult to hit over the fence here. Well, also the adjustments at Comiskey Park. Not too hard to hit out of there anymore either.
No. Not with lines being changed, 335 and 330 down the lines rather than 347.
Big difference. You used to walk into Comiskey Park, look down those lines and go, man, that is a poke. Now you walk in there and go, oh, I like it. Hitter's park now.
Outfield straight up, fakes the bunt, takes the strike.
Tony a little surprised, thinking that pitch was low. Darren Fletcher did catch it just above the shoe tops, but probably crossed the bottom of the knees at the plate.
So Steve Paris, born in Joliet, now resides in Plainfield, Illinois. 12 and 17 last year, as DJ told you, with Cincinnati. As they get him. Caught him in midair.
That's just getting lazy right there by Jose. Really, there's no excuse to get picked off going back standing up. That's just taken for granted Paris's move, and yeah, there's no excuse for that really. I mean, you've got to get dirty and get back.
So the leadoff walk is nullified, and here's the 1-1 pitch. Harris, 6 feet tall, 195 pounds, 37 and 38 in his career. And that's low. There you see Gary Ward, new Sox hitting coach, taking over for Vaughn Joshua. He was at Charlotte, just joined the club today. As there's a breaking ball and he's gone. 2 down.
breaking ball that stayed right on the inside corner, and Tony swinging over the top of it. Well, you mentioned Gary Ward, the new hitting coach. He's supposedly going to be a guy that's going to enforce a little bit of rules.
Well, you know yourself, when things start going bad offensively, sometimes they mushroom and snowball to the effect that it's tough. I mean, first of all, we've talked about, especially yesterday, that is, in my opinion, the toughest job and uniform job in baseball. It's just very, very difficult. And when things start going bad, it's I've seen it, as you have, unstoppable.
No doubt about it. And that is not a very easy career choice.
No.
Hitting coach.
No, Vaughn did a terrific job here, but as I said, that's baseball. That's the way it's always been, and that's the way it's going to be. So Gary will bring in a different approach, and we'll have to hope certainly that it works for our sakes and our hitters' sakes, but it's just not going to be like turning on a light switch. It's going to take a while for him to implement his philosophy, his techniques. This club last year broke almost all existing franchise records. And I think it was really unrealistic to suppose that it was going to be equaled or surpassed this season. That ball hit hard in the left field. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes! Solo shot by Ray Durham, his fifth, and it's 1-0 Sox. Well, maybe it will work.
Hello, right on the board. Ray moved out of that leadoff spot today into the 3-hole. And immediate production. The best thing about it is driving the ball the other way. That's something Ray has to realize, is he's got some drive the other way. If he wants to think about long balls, he can do that. He can drive the ball, the gaps, the other direction, and then go over the fence for him.
So here's Maggs. Maggs had his 10-game hitting streak snapped yesterday. Maggs at 259, 9 homers. He's driven in 28. So Ray now with 5 homers, 13 RBIs. Outfield straight up. Breaking pitch. That's the 6th home run that Paris has thrown this season. It's getting to the point now, every time we run into a guy who's been struggling or has a high ERA,
we're in trouble.
It seems like it. I mean, from your and my standpoint, past experience in baseball has gotten to the point I'd rather see those aces out there.
I don't know what it is. Maybe our guys' intensity level rises because they know they got a tough one. But it has definitely been the case for the Sox this year. You throw somebody out on the hill that has not been locked in, has struggled a bit this season, and all of a sudden he throws a 2-hitter, 3-hitter against us, gives up 1 run.
Yeah.
And it's been in scenarios just like this. Well, we'll get to him early. Looks like, all right, it's going to be a good day today. And then 6 straight innings of not even a base runner.
Well, very seldom do you hit the top pitchers better. And that's about what we've done this year. Unfortunately, we hadn't faced enough of them. As he gets him on a bad breaking pitch, couple of strikeouts for Paris, but solo shot by Ray Durham after a half inning of play. It's the Sox won, and the Blue Jays coming to bat. Straight up. Stewart hitting at 328, 3 homers. He's driven in 16. Last year for the Blue Jays, hit 319, 21 homers, and drove in 69. Chops that one foul. Blue Jays come in at 22-21. They are 3 games back in 3rd place in the East. They are 11-11 here at home. Hitting at 261 as a club with that 4.32 ERA. DJ told you, though, they have lost 7 of the last 10. Ground ball right side. Graffinino sucks it up. So the speedy Shannon Stewart is retired.
Take a look right now at the Blue Jays lineup. As you'll see, the top third of Stewart, Gonzalez, and Delgado. Middle 3, Mondesi, Fulmer, Batista, Last third of Cruz, Fletcher, and Bush. Defense, you've got Leifer, Singleton, Ordonez, Perry, Valentin, Graffinino, and Konerko. A battery of Alomar and Biddle.
And that brought to you by the joy of Pepsi. As Alex Gonzalez takes a slider strike. Alex sitting at 251. 5 homers. He's driven in 25. And a lot of people consider him to be at the top defensively for shortstops in this league.
He can glove it. Definitely can do that.
Last year hit 15 homers and drove in 69 for the Blue Jays. But you're right, you know, these, if you're just tuning in, this is turn back the clock day here in Toronto to 1977. And the Sox were supposed to have worn their 77 unis, but either on purpose or by accident.
I think on purpose.
Probably with the way those things look. But the hats they're wearing, as you notice, are the 77 replicas. Full count, Alex. Blue Jays uniforms haven't changed that much at all as you look at Brian Simmons. Boy, a lot of former Sox in this organization. Ooh, close. 1-out walk.
Take a look right now at Rocky Biddle's numbers. The birthday boys, a birthday today. He's 1-3 with a 4.50 ERA and 7 starts. He has 24 strikeouts in 42 innings, along with 47 hits given up and 17 base on balls. Make it 18 now.
So here's the first baseman, Carlos Delgado, hitting at 280, 16 homers, 33 driven in, and twice this season he has hit 3 homers in 1 game. Last year hit 344, 41 homers, and drove in 137.
That's good.
I love to watch this man hit. Some of the best hands you will ever see on a bat. He is so powerful. Hands and his wrists.
Well, it is amazing to see him flick a ball over the left center field, left field fence without a follow through. That's telling you something about his forearms and hands and wrists.
Probably keeps the head of the bat up through the swing better than anybody in this league. You see he's 1 ahead of Ramirez and Rodriguez. Outfield deep. Blue Jays this year against right-handers are 16-16. Made him move his feet. 2 balls and a strike.
This is Delgado's 6th year in the organization. I mean, in the big leagues. And already 4th on the Jays doubles list with 219.
Yeah, he's going to bring down a few of those marks before he leaves. Out, hooks that one foul. So the count 2-2. Well, it's just a miserable day outside here in Toronto. As you look at Cito Gaston, won 2 world championships managing this ball club.
There's my old manager from '93.
There's a good man.
That he is. Good manager, too.
Yes, he was. Cito now the hitting coach. We mentioned, as you saw Brian Simmons earlier, some of the other Sox is another throw over to first. Pat Daniker, Kevin Byrne, Scott Air, of course, Mike Sorotka.
2-2, 2 balls, 2 strikes.
There are, and Terry Bevington,
There's the boomer.
third base coach. Oh, yeah.
Garth Ords. Watch out, that hit him. So the walk, man, the hit batsman.
Rocky with the breaking ball. Holds on it way too long.
With that, that'll bring up the right fielder, Raul Mondesi. Hitting at .299, 10 homers. He's driven in 29. Last year, he was hurt. Played in fewer than 100 games. Hit .271, 24 homers, and drove in 67.
Those good numbers.
Dadgum right.
Yeah, he was going to have a monster year.
Takes that pitch up high.
Ended up on the DL. This guy here, you talk about all-around talent. He's one of the few guys that has a two-time 30-30 man. And for 6 straight years, he's hit at least 24 home runs.
That'll work.
Good ball player.
So home plate jumping around here. After he got Shannon Stewart to bounce out, and here comes Nardi Contreras. Looks like he's cutting himself short out there on the mound instead of going ahead and finishing the pitch off.
Well, it looks like something. And if that's it, I agree. Because it does appear that he's not following through. Just letting the ball go and following through with his arm.
Well, there are several ways that you try to get pitchers to perceive how to finish a pitch off. One of them is by, the most common I would say, is by throwing it through the mitt. Not to it, but through it. And there's a huge difference. Outfield straight up. And there's a base hit. They're going to hold Gonzalez as Jeff Leeper gets it back in. So 1 out, Sox packed.
That's the one thing about AstroTurf. You hit a ball hard, you lose out on a lot of RBIs. Amazingly, not much you can do. This ball is hit hard, and it is on AstroTurf. And it's right to the left fielder, so hang with him.
And Jeff did a good job of getting to that ball quickly.
That's the whole thing, especially on turf. That will be a deterrent where the third base coach has to hold him.
Well, getting to the ball quickly has saved a lot of outfielders who did not have strong arms. So the quicker you get to it, obviously, the closer it's going to be to the infield. And here's Brad Fulmer, the DH, hitting at .294, 6 homers. He's driven in 34. Takes ball 1. Fulmer last year, .295, 32 homers, and drove in 104. They had some guys put some big numbers up offensively.
Last season was a lot like the White Sox. Big offensive numbers in both of these lineups. This year, well, the Blue Jays, as a team average of .261, they're down, but they do have a few individuals got some big numbers right now.
That ball hit hard into right. Over the head of Maggs, who misread it. So a couple of runs are going to score, and it's a 2-1 Blue Jay lead. Maggs just didn't read that at all.
No. As soon as that ball was hit, he was standing there stuck in his tracks. And then by the time he did see where it was going to be over his head, he didn't take a good read to it. He was messed up all the way on this ball.
So the walk and the hit batsman have crossed home plate. And here's Tony Batista. Tony's average is down, but he has 11 homers and he's driven in 31. Now the Sox bring the infield on artificial surface would be considered in on the grass as Batista fouls it back. Last year, Tony had 41 homers, drove in 114.
That's one of the guys in the lineup that had breakout seasons. The year before, he had 26 home runs. after being acquired from the Diamondbacks.
A lot of guys are going to have breakout seasons playing with that Titleist Pro V.
You know, I think it's more along the lines of, as I mentioned, global warming.
There's a strike. And the count 0-2.
You can talk about the tightened leather all you want on the baseball. That's not going to do it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That'll do it. Well, if it was just the hotness of the ball, that's one thing. That's one thing. But in order to get it that hot, they have to wind it so tight that the seams go down. So now the breaking balls cannot be as sharp because the seams are smaller. So you get a lot more rollers coming up there.
Well, all right, then. If that's the case, you're saying the ball's harder. Rollers are coming up there more often. I'll tell you one thing. The hitters, they got some bats that are made out of marshmallows. They're exploding compared to the way they used to be, made out of cement.
We have seen some. I mean, he's gone. Blew him away upstairs, 2 down. We have seen some exploding bats on this trip.
So the equalizer has been the bats.
How many exploding bats have we seen in the first 6 games on this road trip?
10 probably.
At least.
No, it's been amazing. I mean, I'm talking about in half. I've just shattered in half. It's been amazing.
Here's the center fielder switch hitting Jose Cruz Jr. 286 homers. He's driven in 19. Last year hit 242, 31 homers, and drove in 76. And there's a base hit, an exploding bat. That's going to score a pair, and it's a 4-1 Blue Jay lead.
As we speak, another exploding bat. And on AstroTurf, it doesn't matter. It gets through there in a hurry. He hit this perfectly.
So here's the catcher, Darren Fletcher, hitting at 231, 3 homers. He's driven in 17. Last year hit 320 with 20 homers and drove in 58.
Another guy that had a monster season. First time reaching the 20 home run mark.
Well, there have been a lot of guys in the last few years that hit 20 or more.
I keep telling you. You can refer to that ball all you want. That's not it.
And that's popped up. Jose makes the catch, and that'll retire the side, but some damage done. 4 runs across the plate, and we'll go to the second. It's 4-1 Blue Jays. Jose Cruz Jr. with a 2-out, 2-run single as the Blue Jays lead at 4-1. For the Sox, it'll be Leifer, Konerko, and Perry to face Steve Paris. Jeff at 278, a homer. He's driven in 2. Pitch off the outside corner.
Oh, once again, the Sox show some offense early in the game and then turn around and fall right behind by 3. 3-run deficit. It's happened a whole bunch to them this year. When's the bleeding going to stop?
There's a strike. 2-1 to count. I was noticing what Jerry Manuel had said in papers today, that he had never been involved in a drought like this.
That he did. This has definitely been mystifying.
Right there. So full count. Well, it is not something that anybody has an answer for.
mentioned earlier in the season where I played on a team, the '93 Mets, where a lot of talent, but we had a terrible record.
That's into center field. Cruz. One gone.
And it's similar to what's going on here now. The difference is that the players in the White Sox are younger. They're outstanding players, but they're still young. Whereas when I was with the Mets, they were veteran players that were outstanding. And there's really no excuse for those guys to play the way they did, almost losing 100 ball games. At least, you know, these guys, it can come down to inexperience.
Well, you had Eddie Murray. Why don't you give us the lineup?
Well, we had Eddie Murray. We had Jeff Kent at second base. We had shortstop. We had Tim Bogar, third base. Howard Johnson, left field. Vince Coleman. Center field, we had Ryan Thompson at the time. Myself.
Well, there's the whole key to the whole slump.
I was in there. Well, I was in there briefly. That's the year I had my thyroid problem, so I wasn't in there a whole lot. But, I mean, you know, there were some big name pitchers, let alone Saberhagen, Gooden.
That ball hit deep. Shannon Stewart goes back, looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes! It's a 4-2 ball game on Polly cranking out his 8th homer.
There you go. Get him started, Hawk. Your pick to click. We'll take it. You know, every now and then we get Hawk to figure out a guy he's going to go with that day so I can get him hot. But anyway, that lineup in New York was really, it was amazing to have the lineup that we did, the players that we had. John Franco as a closer, and still almost lose 100 games. Breaking ball just out over the plate. Perfect. Paulie with that new this season late kick.
Herbert takes fastball strike right there. The neck pub started off bad and never just caught up, huh?
No, it was just not pretty. Not pretty at all.
Out of play right side. Well, you know, Sox fans will recall 1983. When the Sox won the divisional title by 20 games, winning 99 ball games that season. And expectations were tremendous for 84, and poof.
Blow out the candles.
Started off bad, never caught up. Well, this season for me, as I have mentioned before. I came into this season with as much optimism as I believe I have ever had about a ball club.
As did I.
I still like this club. I mean, you know, we're burying ourselves with each and every passing game on this road trip, but I still like this ball club. Something has got to happen to get them over the hump, and that has not happened yet.
Yeah, there's been no rhythm.
No. And this is our 42nd ball game.
There's in sync, and what we have been is out of sync.
Well, I love the word rhythm. You know that. That's one of my favorite words. And as Herbert goes down, it's one of my favorite words, and it has been. The rhythm of an individual, the rhythm of a club. Third strikeout for Paris, but there has absolutely been no rhythm with this team this year.
It would be nice, because we saw it last year so often, for them to go ahead and get locked in as a team, as a unit, into that rhythm. And boy, when that happens, it's going to be fun to watch.
Chris may have broken his bat.
Here's a reminder. Fans attending White Sox games through June 20th can vote for their favorite White Sox players and other deserving All-Stars on the Clareton All-Star ballot. You can win a trip for two to Major League Baseball All-Star Fantasy Camp and tickets to the game in Seattle, or other great prizes from Clareton. You can even vote online at MajorLeagueBaseball.com, RadioShack.com, or WhiteSox.com.
I'm beginning to see now why we have to stop for refueling. Last night we took off from Oakland, and midway through the flight I fell asleep. We landed, and I called Casey, my son. I said, Case, he said, where are you? I said, we're in Toronto. But I noticed nobody was getting off the plane.
Yeah.
And this is wee hours in the morning, and all of a sudden we're at Midway.
Yeah, I had to tell you that.
Yeah, you just, DJ, where are we? He said, we're at Midway.
You looked at me.
But the reason we're having to refuel is because we're having to take so many bats on the flights.
The extra weight.
Tries the back door.
It is amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of dying lumber just going down in flames. Not even winners. A winner is when you get hit with.
That's popped up. Gonzalez is there. And that'll do it. But Paul Konerko's 8th homer, his 24th RBI, and after an inning and a half, it's the Blue Jays by 2. Paul Konerko's 8th homer has made it a 4-2 game as Homer Bush will lead it off for the Blue Jays. Breaking ball strike. Homer's been red hot. 10 for 23. After coming off a tough season last year, 215, a homer, and 18 RBIs.
7 for his last 11, or 7 for 11, and 3 starts this season. I mean, since coming back off the DL. I'll get it right.
Might take a while.
Well, you just said it. We're on that plane. You're waking me up, messing with me, saying, where are we? You know, otherwise I'd be resting.
I thought you were messing with me when you said we're at Midway. There's a strike. And the count 1-2.
No, I definitely knew that by the look on your face when I told you that. Where were we just now after we took off? It's a Midway. You looked at me like I was crazy.
I was tired. I was really sleepy. 1-2 pitch. Four 3-0 for the Blue Jays. 2-2-0 for the Sox. Both hits solo homers if you're just tuning in. One by Ray Durham and one by Paul Konerko.
The good thing is Rocky Biddle. He didn't have to take that charter last night.
That's back through the middle. So Homer leads it off with a solid single to center.
Rocky got here earlier in the evening on a commercial flight. So if he has a bad day today, it's not because he was tired.
Here's Shannon Stewart. Grounded out to second base. Queen Victoria Day here in Toronto.
Got it. Oh my, that was close.
Homer has yet to attempt a stolen base this season. Blue Jays have 27 in 39 attempts. Jammed him, pops him up, and Paulie's going to run out of room.
Take a look at this pickoff. Rocky Biddle quick to first base. Homer with a little lean. And I mean, that's about as close as you can get without having it called in your favor. Homer stole 32 bases last season.
Stewart, that wide open stance. Almost like Galarraga. Day off tomorrow. Unusual scheduling. Then on Wednesday it'll be David Wells against his former mates and Joey Hamilton for the Blue Jays. Pitch out, nothing on.
I take that back. 32 bases 2 seasons ago.
For David, birthday boy yesterday, David Wells, 38 years old.
Day before that, Josh Paul.
Just 25.
Mm-hmm. He's old.
Out of play. 1-2. It's your birthday. You got mail.
You didn't know anything about that.
No, I wouldn't. I got no clue.
I'll let you mess with my computer.
No.
You know as much as I do.
Tops that one foul.
Shannon Stewart, the last few years, has become one of the premier leadoff guys. Not just because of his on-base percentage. I mean, he can hit.
He's a good player.
He is that. Last season, he had 43 doubles to go along with the 21 home runs that he hit.
He is a good player.
He's one of those guys, actually, got enough power numbers where he can be down in the lineup a bit, be more productive driving in runs.
Well, somebody's got to lead off.
They do. Well, Homer Bush used to be the leadoff. Well, could be the leadoff guy here.
He keeps swinging the bat like he has been. He is 11 for 24 this season.
What happened?
Decent lead by Homer. Just off the corner. Sox trying to snap a 6-game losing streak.
Shannon with that .319 average last season, had a .363 on base percentage, only 37 base on balls. Not a lot for a leadoff guy. 79 strikeouts.
This game is backed up a little bit.
Yeah. Checked up on us.
There goes. There's a strikeout. So Homer picks up his first stolen base. 1 out. And here comes the shortstop, Alex Gonzalez, who walked and scored last inning. Second strikeout for Biddle. Tony's going to hang out a little bit, try to bluff. Now goes back to his position. Is that breaking ball high? Carlos Delgado on deck. As he chops that one foul.
What we need here is a bad base running double play. I can make the call. The call is out. I've said that one time in my life and it happened, so you never know.
Now, when was that?
I was playing.
You were playing for the Tulare Sugar Kings?
No.
That's inside.
No, seriously. I was sitting on the bench one time. I said, perfect time for a bad base running double play. What happened? Line drive to the second baseman. Guy in second. Got too far off. Flip his shortstop. Ring him up. It can happen. So just keep your fingers crossed. Keep Delgado from getting in the batter's box.
There's a ground ball. They got him in the pickle. Give it to him. And put it on him. Almost got the bad base running double play. If there had been somebody at second, could have flipped, had a double play. Am I on or what? Well, Maggs was trying to get there.
That'll work.
Well, really, it was not done well at all.
Well, bad base running by Homer Bush.
It was bad base running of him, bad execution by us, allowing Gonzalez to get in there on that play. So here's Delgado. We make too many throws on those pickle plays.
Well, you know what? It breaks down to it's happened a couple times already this season where there has been too many throws. It's going to come down to I'll bet you sooner or later Jerry's going to have to get the guys out there and say, let's go over it. There's been managers that pull you right out there and say, we got to go over this again because this is not good.
It's ridiculous. Pops him up. Foul ground, Herbert. And it'll retire the side. So Rocky pitches out of it. We'll go to the third, trailing by 2. Sandy Alomar leads off the top of the third. 4-4-0 for the Blue Jays. Steve Paris has given up 2 hits, neither of which has stayed in the park. Oh, and 2 the count. Sandy at 260, a couple of homers. He's driven in 13.
Well, that trend of Steve Paris, I would love to see continue about 6 or 7 more times today.
You don't ask for much, do you?
Nope.
That's downstairs.
Hey, you know,
It's just the kind of guy you are.
if they would start putting some hits back to back to back, I wouldn't be asking for.
That's what I'd rather see rather than the homer. I'd like to see 4 or 5 hits in an inning.
I prefer that. Unfortunately, that's not been something that's been in their repertoire lately.
On the outside corner.
So Steve Paris, who came into this ball game with 9 strikeouts and 31 innings, has got 4 today. Is that just off the outside corner?
Yes, it was. Jim Joyce looking over into the dugout. Somebody said something. Here's Jose. He walked and then was picked off. What happens when a catcher gets called out on a pitch like that? And it's hard for him to say anything. What upsets him, though, is the fact that maybe he feels like that his pitcher is not been getting that same pitch. And then all of a sudden he gets rung up.
Well, there you see Jim Joyce emphasizing, yelling, "That's a ball," towards the White Sox dugout right now. But yeah, a catcher, he knows what's being called a ball and a strike, and if it's different when he's hitting, not going to be happy.
One thing about this road trip that we're 0-6 on, we have had 6 good umpired games.
That is definitely not to blame.
No.
The offense has been.
Get backing out of here. It will. Full count to Jose.
On this road trip, starting in Seattle, scored 3 runs, 2 runs, 1 run, 2 runs, 3 runs.
Can of corn into center field. Now Shannon Stewart makes a call and almost straight away center. 2 out.
Here's a reminder, every Monday is Half Price Monday at Comiskey Park on Monday, May 28th, when the White Sox take on the Blue Jays at 6:05. All tickets are half the regular price. For tickets, call 312-8311-SOX. So no offense leads to a lot of losses.
Here's Tony.
Our highest offensive output on this road trip, 3 runs. It's a lot of pressure on the pitchers.
No, he scored 13 runs in 6 games. That won't get it. Unless you got the 59 Dodgers staff. Then you'd probably be 6-0.
Unfortunately, we don't have that working. Now, our starting pitchers have been holding us in some games. That's
the
unfortunate.
pitching looks like it's coming around from the starter standpoint. Bullpen still got to get settled down, but starters look like they're kind of coming around as there's a little soft liner over the head of Gonzalez. So DJ's pick to click. The 2-out single, and it'll bring up Ray. If you're just tuning in, back in the first inning with 2 out. Poof.
I love it. Ray going to left center and driving it over the gap. That is when Ray starts to get hot, when he uses the opposite field.
Fastball high off the plate. They now with 5 homers, 13 RBIs.
It's funny because the guy on deck has kind of gotten away from using the opposite field the right way. He's hit some balls that way, but his hips have just continued to fly open, and he hasn't been able to hit it with as much authority.
No, he hadn't been driving it like he did the last couple of years.
And he knows it. I've talked to Maglio, and he says, yeah, he knows he's doing it, but for some reason he can't get his mind right to make the adjustment yet.
That ball hit hard into center field. Cruz is back there right in front of the track, hauls it in, and that'll retire the side. So Jose Cruz Jr., who plays very deep, that time it paid off. And after 2.5, it's 4-2 bad guys. Singleton scored in the first. 4-2 Blue Jays. And that's on the corner, and the count 0-2. We mentioned the off day tomorrow, then Wednesday night. David Wells against Joey Hamilton. That game will be over Fox Sports Net. Then on Thursday, Kip Wells will lock horns with Chris Carpenter, who has been nothing less than sensational against the Sox in his career.
Oh, Mondesi, he's stepping in the bucket big time.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, he is keeping his shoulder closed. That's one thing.
That's the key.
He's keeping his shoulder closed. He's actually bringing his hips with him a bit. There's nothing wrong with your foot being open if you keep enough of your body back and still use some power.
Left this one in the right field. Could be trouble. It is. Ground rule double as it pops into the seats. No, your feet can go anywhere. It's where your shoulder goes.
Well, Mondesi has actually his whole career stepped in the bucket and still has power the opposite way because he keeps his front shoulder closed. Here he steps in the bucket. It's a tough pitch from Biddle, so he just reaches out and pokes it. That's the one thing, though. You have power the other way if it's over the plate. If it's away from you, you have to reach like that.
So here's Fulmer. He hit a linea over the head of Maggs for a 2-run double in the first. Well, there was a guy who hit 660 home runs in his career.
There's only one guy that did that.
And he stepped in the bucket, something awesome.
I've seen the highlights. Actually, I saw him a little bit when I was a kid. Oh, say hey.
Willie Mays.
Roberto Clemente stepped in the bucket. Had some good power the other way.
No, he had some great power the other way. Playing with that old mushmelon they used to play with.
You know, and you were one of those guys that claimed that you didn't think things were tougher then. Now listen to you.
No, I like the players. The players are better today. There's no question about that. I mean, anybody that disputes that does not watch or study the game enough. There's a strike.
So
now how the game is played is a different story, but the players themselves individually are better players.
Your contention is your era, the balls were softer and the seams were bigger.
There's no question about it. Upstairs, 3-1. Well, did we? Were you with me when that gentleman brought a ball to the park from, I believe it was late 60s, early 70s?
I don't recall that.
And we compared the seams. I tell you, it was no comparison.
Yeah, well, he dug those up a little bit.
Fulmer's got that busy body at the plate. So with the count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. Let's pause for station identification.
This is WGN Superstation.
Following DJ Darrin Jackson. Ken Harrelson from Skydome. First of a 3-game set. And it's Queen Victoria Day here in Canada. as there's ball 4. So trouble a-brewing.
I don't like that right there. Rocky throwing a 3-2 curveball to put Fulmer on. I know that it's a right-hander on deck and everything, but right now we can't afford to give any free passes. We got to get the hitters out.
Tony Batista struck out swinging on a high fastball. And he's starting from the bucket position, and he will close it up. I really like his approach. You're seeing so many, you know, we talk about creative slides in the game today. You never saw those slides, you know, 25, 30 years ago. Guys are so much more creative on the base paths. And we're seeing some really unique stances.
All right, kid, this is about as unique as you'll see.
That ball hit deep. Leafer looks up. It is a 7-2 ball game. Home run number 12 for Batista. And he now has 34 RBIs.
Well, Rocky took the commercial flight and got here early. Now, wouldn't have mattered if he got here tired today because he's getting hit very hard. That is right in Batista's wheelhouse.
So here's Jose Cruz Jr. He had a broken bat, 2-run single. Takes it outside. Batista hitting at 223 coming in, but it's a hard 223 as we mentioned. Some of the stances that are Jeff Bagwell to me has one of the most unique stances in the history of this game. He was the first guy to actually stride backwards. And you realize how strong you got to be to stride backwards?
Well, not that I could do it, but how about, remember Phil Plantier?
Phil Plantier from the Guinea squat stance.
I've never seen anybody hit. There's John Garland getting heated up in the pen. Never seen anybody hit like they were sitting on a stool.
2-1 pitch. Chopper 2 hopper. Raffanino. 1 out. And then you got the little toe tap backwards. Sammy employs, Sammy Sosa. I love it. Why not?
Indeed, why not?
Darren Fletcher popped up to short.
Definitely nothing wrong with being different.
No, and that is something that these players today are not afraid to do, is be different. They had hitting coaches way back that if you were to try something like that, they'd say, no way, Jose. That's why it's such a great game. They come in all sizes and shapes and all kinds of different stances.
Well, there's the hitting coach, Cito Gaston, for the Blue Jays. He's just obviously working with what each player presents.
There's a bullet. Well, that's what you have to do. And that's why the hitting coach's job is such a difficult one.
You know, you mentioned the creative slides nowadays. There was a time where you came to spring training and you worked on your sliding, and you pretty much did a couple of different slides. That was it. The hook slide, the pop-up slide. There was no head first. There was none of that. You don't work as much as you used to on the sliding in spring training.
Well, Pete Rose, for the most part, brought in the head first version that became a standard. As Homer Bush, who singled sharply back through the middle, fouls that pitch off. But there was some head-first sliding in the past prior to Pete, but he was the one that encouraged a lot of players. This should be rack 'em up. 6-4-3, and that'll do it. But 3 more runs across the plate on a 3-run homer by Tony Batista. We're into the 4th, trailing by 5. Tony Batista's 3-run homer. And Steve Paris has himself a 5-run lead. For the Sox, it'll be Maggs, Leifer, and Konerko. Maggs struck out on a bad 3-2 curveball. But you brought up a point that Maggs said he knows what he's doing and he just can't correct it. And that is not uncommon. There's a fastball strike.
No, it's not uncommon at all. And the thing is, it's just got to get in Maglio's head. He's got to have that toughness to be able to keep that shoulder and hip in.
Another exploding bat. And it's a foul ball.
Again, that pitch right there is the reason that Maglio is flying open.
Well, if that's the case, then he's going to have to back off the plate. He's going to have to back off the plate far enough to where he doesn't have to worry about that pitch because it'll be inside.
Well, that pitch right there, that pitch was a foot inside, and he's swinging at it.
Yeah, but if you're protecting in there, you have more of an opportunity to swing at it because you're cheating in there.
And that's the problem right now. He doesn't recognize the pitch on the inside part as a strike or a ball, and he's chasing it, and he realizes it. So instead of letting it come over the plate, he's going ahead and chasing it and getting beat in there and doesn't have any confidence anymore.
Well, we talk about it so often. The worst feeling the hitter can have when he goes to the plate is if he's looking in. If he's protecting against in, then you got big problems.
Well,
so you've got to back off the plate. Yeah, we were talking about on the plane last night. You've got sometimes you have to adjust at the plate. You just cannot stand in the same spot. You have to adjust. You have to do something that will give you a feeling of some sense of control.
Well, he has to start giving up that inside part of the plate. That's the only way he's going to lay off those balls. Also opens him up to a lot more off-speed stuff of being out in front of it just like that because he's looking in for the hard stuff.
So Steve Paris, who had 9 strikeouts and 31 2/3 coming in, has 5 through the first 3 1/3 here. And here's Leifer.
You and I both can relate to when you get concerned about covering the inside part of the plate.
Ball hit hard. Delgado sucks it up.
Here's a reminder, the White Sox take on the Tigers Thursday, May 31st at 7:05. The first 20,000 fans at the game will receive White Sox souvenir cups courtesy of ESPN Radio 1000. For tickets, call 312-8311-SOX.
That'll bring up Konerko. Paulie cranked out his 8th homer with 1 out in the 2nd inning.
You and I both, we just talk to the guys on the team and hear what they have to say and wish we could do something to help them, but we've got to work through it.
Breaking ball off the plate. There's a strike. When a hitter loses in his own mind, because that's where the strike zone is in the mind of the hitter. It's like a fingerprint. As there's another strike. When he loses that sense of command of the strike zone and he's protecting either in or he's protecting out, at that point he has to find a way to bring the strike zone back to him, and one of the best ways to do that is when you go to the plate. You have an idea of how you want to work that ball. You have an idea where you're going to try to beat that pitcher. If you're going to try to beat him to right, if he's a right-hander and you're a right-handed hitter, at that point you might have to back off the plate again, so you don't have to worry as much about the inside pitch, and you can look for the ball out over the plate. As Konerko goes down on a good pitch from Paris, the sinker down and in. And that was a quick inning. After 3 1/2, it's 7-2 Toronto. Games brought to you by Pepsi AC. There you see Wednesday and Thursday, 6:05 Central Time. The games will be over Fox Sports Net. And then Friday and Saturday from Comerica Park against the Tigers.
And we have a pitching change. John Garland has come on for Rocky Biddle. Rocky lasted through 3. John's got to come out here and try and hold things in check and hope the offense can come to life. He's 1-2 with an 8.18 ERA. 11 innings. He's given up 20 hits along with 5 long balls in 11 innings, 7 base on balls and 6 strikeouts. But these are the situations where it's good for him to get in there and try and get that confidence up.
That's exactly what it is. Shannon Stewart will lead it off. It'll be Stewart, Gonzalez, and Delgado.
A lot less pressure right now on John Garland. He doesn't have to try and hold the game and get the victory. He's just got to think about pitching well right now. You're down by 5 runs. Responsibility doesn't necessarily fall on him.
There's a shot off the glove of Konerko. That'll be a leadoff single.
Well, Shannon Stewart, he can hit, and that's a bullet. Paulie, outstanding job getting some leather on that. That's 2 bases easy.
Here's Gonzalez. He walked and scored in the first, then hit into a 6-5, 4-5 fielder's choice in the second. Pretty good lead by Stewart.
You mentioned earlier Alex Gonzalez, considered one of the better shortstops in baseball. Jim Fregosi used to talk about the range in the hands of this player, and it is definitely true. He brings some offense with him.
Good pitch right there. Ate him up. Hose with the flip. Tony with a turn. Rack him up. Quick turnover by Tony Graffinino and Jose Valentin. 2 down.
That was very, very pretty. You'd think about just getting the lead runner, and it turns out Tony quickly gets rid of it. You don't usually, you're not able to roll up a double play on a ball that's a 4-hopper, 3-hopper to the shortstop. He's got to throw it backwards. Gonzalez not out of the box very quickly, being jammed. Got him.
So here's Delgado. Was hit by a pitch and scored in the first. Fouled out to Perry in the second. You know, Jim Fregosi was an outstanding shortstop himself. And he told us that in his opinion, Gonzalez was the best defensive shortstop in the American League.
Well, especially on this turf, you can really see what a guy is made of. You don't get too many bad hops. So you can see some smooth fielding for consistent bases on this turf.
Yeah, if you're going to be an outstanding defensive shortstop on the turf, you better be quick. That first step has got you, and you got to be into the game all the time.
Little room for error. Gets by you a lot quicker.
The ball hit hard into center field. But Chris is there, and that'll retire the side. So Garland throws a double play, lines out Delgado. We'll go to the 5th, trailing 7-2. Our WGN Sports tail of the tape, 7-8-0 for the Blue Jays, 2-3-0 for the Sox. As we mentioned, these two teams met 10 times last year, and they split them. So for the Sox, it'll be the lower third of the order: Perry, Singleton, and Alomar. First pitch strike. Steve Paris has 6 strikeouts. Herbert was one of them. And we got some email, DJ.
All right, let me hear it.
I love email. That's off the end of the bat in the left field. Shannon Stewart coming on. This one from says Hawk and DJ regarding the Frank Menachino acting job, 6th inning on the 19th. I tuned in too late to view the play live and heard your initial comments and hear your initial comments. Did either of you point out to the younger viewers that Mr. Menachino's sportsmanship left something to be desired, or am I just showing my age? Phil Van Heusen from Grand Haven, Michigan. Chris with a bunt. Paris with a peg. Yeah, Phil, I think you're just showing your age.
Phil, I've got to agree. No, it's do as you can to preserve the game. If you've got to go ahead and try and take advantage of something that the umpire can't see, you know what? You do it. It's not the umpire's fault. It's nobody's fault.
No, it was not. Richard Rieker was the second base umpire. Went out as far and as quickly as he could to get there. He just didn't see it. And that's just the rub of the green, so to speak. As we take a look, as John Walgren throws it up there, you see the ball's picked up. And you could see Richard Rieker, how far he went out. He was coming around. He just couldn't get there in time. So he did everything he could.
Well, if that's the case, you know, in situations on the baseball field, then the umpires would start asking the hitters if they checked their swing, and the hitter would say, yeah, I did on that one. That's just not going to happen.
You mean you never did that?
Well,
you never, when a guy missed a 3-2 pitch and called it ball 4, you never looked at him and said, hey, wait a minute.
that was a strike.
That was a strike.
Well, I'll tell you, I had some umpires in the minor leagues that actually asked me questions like, did you really feel that ball?
Ground ball hits the mound. And there is the smooth feeling Alex Gonzalez. And that is another 1-2-3 inning. He has retired 7 in a row. Halfway home, Blue Jays by a handful. Three hits, one of which stayed in the ballpark as he leads at 7-2. He's been struggling, 2-3 with a 5.97 ERA coming in, but he has yet to walk a hitter, and he has 6 strikeouts. So here in the bottom of the 5th for Toronto, it'll be Mondesi, Fulmer, and Batista to face John Garland. Mondesi has singled, doubled, and scored twice.
Steve Paris. He was drafted back in '89 by the Phillies originally. Guy's having a heck of a game today. We talked about it. Seems like guys that have been struggling and not doing that well, they come up against the Sox and they have themselves a heck of a day. This guy's been through it all. He's been claimed off of waivers twice, released twice, traded here in November last year. He's been through the gamut, going from team to team.
To the count to Raul Mondesi. Breaking ball outside. Two and two. He's gone. First strikeout for Garland.
Good pitch. That's a nice curveball on the outside corner. If you're going to do it, keep it away. And Mondesi reaching out there for it.
So here's Brad Fulmer. Doubled in a pair in the first inning, walked and scored in the third. Another email is from Stan Barr from Nunica, Michigan. Could you please give a big yes to DePaul University? Certainly. That pitch out of play right side. I was wondering if either of you ever went through a season such as the Sox were, where you're coming off such a successful year last season and then start out slow the next year. And how did you deal with it? And did you turn it around?
You talking about team-wise? Is that a team question?
Team, yeah.
No, I never played on a team that played so well one year and then got off to this kind of start.
I did. We won the pennant, went to the World Series in '67, lost in 7 games to the Cardinals, and of course expectations were really high going into '68. But the same thing happened. We lost. That's popped up. We lost Jim Lonborg, who had won the Cy Young the year before, to a skiing accident. He broke his leg. He had won 22 games in '67. Then we lost Jose Santiago, who was a very fine right-handed pitcher. I believe he was 12-4 for us in '67. And we just never recovered. We finished, I think, from going first, we finished, I believe, in '68, I think we finished 3rd or 4th.
We have had our share of injuries that have decimated the team. I mean, they have hurt. No doubt about it. But our hitters just haven't swung the bats. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, that wasn't the case with us. We swung the bats well, but we just couldn't get it done out on the mound. We didn't quit. We didn't give up. We handled it well, but the Detroit Tigers eventually went on and won the pennant and won the World Series in the 7th game against Bob Gibson, as Mickey Lolich won 3 games in that series. But our guys have not given up. They're going to keep trying. And again, it's that hump that you've got to, that mountain you've got to climb to get over it. And they have just not been able to do it. And sometimes it's just one ball game that'll get you over that hump. Good inning for Garland. A couple of strikeouts. 1, 2, 3. And we'll go to the 6th. It's still 7-2. Well, our forward snapshot focuses on John Garland. He's worked 2 innings. Gave up a leadoff single to Shannon Stewart in the 4th. And then Gonzalez. Watch how quickly this one's turned. And then the strikeout right there of Tony Batista. He had 2 strikeouts last inning. He got Mondesi and Batista. There's a shot. Mondesi pulls up. Looks like he may have been able to make that play, DJ.
Well, thank you very much, Raul. It did. It appeared when he was coming in for that ball, he had it. And then decides, uh-oh, I'm not going to get to this. And when you're on AstroTurf, if you get caught in between, you look real bad. It eats you up and usually gets by you. So he decides to play it safe.
So Jose now 1 for 2. He walked in the 1st. Flied to left in the 3rd. Singles the lead off here in the 6th. And here's Graffinino. He's 1 for 2. Takes that pitch downstairs. And here's another email. Says, "Dear Hawk and DJ, my good friend Andrew and I just returned from our freshman year at Washington University in St. Louis. As big Sox fans, we know that this road trip will be crucial to the team's turnaround. So we've decided to take a little road trip and meet the team in Detroit. But check that in Toronto for the final leg of the trip. And then follow you guys into Detroit for the final games. We can't wait for our trip, and we were hoping to meet you guys in Toronto. We buy you guys dinner one night. Don't miss our sign. Hope to see you in Canada, eh? David Eisenberg."
All right. Well, we're glad you're here.
Yes.
We need the support right now. We need some lifting of the spirits.
That's out of play right side. And if you want to email us, poof, there it is. Email Hawk and DJ, Sox TV at chicagosports.com. Hawk and DJ, Sox TV at chicagosports.com. Three and one.
Steve Perez has gone 7 innings once this season and 6 innings once. So this is deep into the ball game for him. Jose, he's off. Ground ball. Batista has it. Going to flip it to first to get Tony, but Jose was off and running on the pitch. But on the 3-1 count, Tony protecting and putting it in play. Wasn't a very aggressive swing. So you got one out. Jose at second base. And Ray. He's 1 for 2. Homered to left center field and flied to center last time up.
He hammered that ball to center.
There's a ground ball. Bush has it up. Got him. Jose moves into third base, but 2 down. Got Lorenzo Barcelo getting warmed up down there in the bullpen. Mags Ordonez, he's 0 for 2, 2 punch outs. 9 home runs, 28 RBIs on the season. Well, good time for that 2-out knock right here, Maglio. Stayed on that ball nicely.
He made a good pass at it. You know, you'd think a guy just having a 10-game hitting streak snapped yesterday would be there. But it was a struggling 10-game hitting streak for him.
That's exactly right. Unfortunately, a 10-game hitting streak that was deceptive. Not like he was just going 3 for 4 every day and hitting everything hard. He was getting a hit here and there any way he could. Good save, Fletcher, with Jose Valentin at third base. Saved a run. But yeah, Maglio, that 10-game hitting streak. Had 10 RBIs, 5 home runs. The long ball came back for him. There's no doubt about that. He started swinging for the fences, and that was what he was doing. Way up. And I think he actually, and he'll admit it probably, was during that streak sitting on some pitches. And when he got him, he was able to hit him. Other than that, he wasn't locked in.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. If you're going to be not feeling that well in the box, might as well have a plan. Because there's a breaking ball. It was a good one to hit.
Well, you got to make that commitment. When you're struggling, you got to make a commitment. You got to sit on a pitch, and you got to do it. And what that does, for you young hitters out there, it takes you out of being in between. And when you're sitting on a pitch and you're looking for it, if you don't get it, then just grab some bench. But if you do, then you got a chance to be dangerous.
And that was the case for Maglio during that streak. That ball's down to load the count up. Yeah, Maglio, such a good hitter, and he's so smart that he'll figure things out. You know, you'd like it to be right now, today, this swing, but it may take some time. As there was a hanger, 3-2. He pops it up on the left field line. Batista, he's calling off Gonzalez. He's there. Went a long way not to make that play, but Sox unable to come across on the scoreboard.
(7-2) Toronto here in the bottom of the 6th inning. And while we have a moment, let's check out what's coming your way right here over WGN TV.
Legends of the Hollywood screen return for the sequel to the hit movie Cocoon. Cocoon: The Return, tonight at 8 Eastern on WGN Superstation.
Back with Darrin Jackson, Ken Harrelson from Skydome on Queen Victoria Day. A holiday here in Canada as we have a pitching change.
Lorenzo Barcelo has come on for John Garland, who did a good job while he was out there for his 2 innings. Lorenzo has a 3.38 ERA. He's given up 15 hits in 16 innings, 1 long ball, 6 base on balls, and 12 punch outs.
So the last 2 times Garland has been out there in relief, he has done a good job. And just tuning in, he started the 4th in relief of Rocky Biddle, gave up a line drive single off the glove of Paul Konerko by Shannon Stewart. Then Gonzalez hit into a 6-4-3 double play, and he retired Delgado. And last inning, he struck out Mondesi, popped up Fulmer, and struck out Batista. Well, Lorenzo's going to have the bottom third of the Toronto order. Cruz, Fletcher, and Bush.
Well, Lorenzo been having himself a little bit of trouble lately out there on the hill. Has been the case for a few guys in the pen. And it was good to see John Garland throw the ball well. A little surprising that he didn't get to stay out there a little longer.
You know, getting back to that email we had from Stan Barr from Nunica, Michigan, about if either of us went through a season such as the Sox are right now after coming off such a successful year last season and then start out slow the next season. You know, another thing, Stan, is there's a fair ball. Well, Cruz in the second. And Jeff Leefer coming in to back up third.
Well, just the way an outfielder's supposed to do it. Got to give Jeff Leefer his credit because he came from left field, got his behind over there behind third base in case, backing up the throw also on second base. Tell you don't see a lot of guys doing that.
No,
nowadays.
you don't.
You really don't. Guys lackadaisically make a little bit of an effort, but not a hustling effort like we saw from Leefer.
So here's Fletcher. He's 1 for 2. He's popped a short and single. But I mentioned in that season after we won the pennant, went to the World Series, the next year we lost 2 of our best pitchers. The big difference, Stan, was the fact that even though we did not quit, we did not give up, we still played hard, but the intensity was not as great. And that's what we've seen with our club this year. Last year our club played 9 innings of intense baseball. The intensity was there, and it has not been there this season.
I think our guys started off thinking it was going to be a little easier, and instead it was actually much harder for them, and it got them off to a slow start. And then they realized, wait a minute, we can't just turn this on when we want to. We got to start getting it together, but at the same time putting more pressure on themselves, because when you're pressing at the big league level and you're already in a hole, things usually only get worse, and that's been the case. And now they've dug themselves deep into it. They got to somehow crawl out of it. They can't just burst out in a rush. They got to maybe get a couple of guys locked in, and then a few more guys to follow, and they look at each other and go, all right, we're clicking. And I thought that's what was happening before this road trip. It appeared that guys were starting to come together and click.
Two and 1 the count to Fletcher. Outfield, for the most part, straight up. And that evens the count at 2.
You want to talk about a quick turnaround of events from feeling like the team was starting to unite and join together to all of a sudden it seems like we got 4 flat tires.
That's high and to left. Leefer. And as you just saw, a shot right there of Jerry Manuel. That intensity does not come from the manager. If it did, our club would be playing with that kind of intensity. That's got to come from the players.
It's amazing. A manager can hold a meeting. He can be a guy that yells and screams and shouts. That's not going to do it. He can try and run a little psychology on them and get them to think the right way. That's not going to work. The only thing that's going to really work is for them, each individual, to sit there and say, all right, I got to take it up a notch today. I've got to really push myself. When you're down, you have to push yourself. You can't bring everybody else together. If you're hustling and you try and get somebody else to do it, a couple of guys, it can become contagious.
There's a base hit. Here comes Cruz. And there's a throw. And it's an 8-2 Toronto lead. Bush 2 for 3.
But again, it just is a contagious thing where the players have got to somehow get themselves out of the funk that they're in. And I mean it. You can see guys now mentally that they are a little down. And they're the only ones that can get themselves out of it.
Here's Stewart. He's grounded to second, struck out, and singled.
Major League Baseball players, Hawk, they put so much pressure on themselves because they realize, you know what? Success brings rewards. Failure, it brings you down. They want to do well. They definitely want to do well. Because they know these careers, hey, you know what? They're not long lasting if you're not putting up numbers.
Well, I never played with anybody that I ever thought went out on the mound trying to lose, or played with anybody who went to the plate not trying to get a base hit. Never played with anybody that went out there and didn't care if they won or lost. It was just to what degree of what we're talking about they took it to. Everybody wants to succeed, but some of the best managers that I ever played for, and some of the best people in sports, everybody's always talking about motivation. It's tough for a guy to motivate somebody, but what he can do is allow that individual to motivate himself. Now, I never played, obviously, for Vince Lombardi, but I had the opportunity to talk to him, and in my opinion, he was definitely a motivator. But those guys are few and far between.
It is hard to motivate a room full of people. Like I say, in my opinion, you can do it individually. You can talk to each guy and give him something to work with and stay with them. You have to stay with them on a regular basis. I know because I've been down. You've been down at a major league level where things weren't going well, and you stayed in a funk for a while. And if the right person stayed with you and kept reinforcing some positive, sooner or later you might start believing in yourself again, and it turns things around.
Well, that's where the psyche of the game is a little bit different now, as there goes Bush. That ball shot hard into right. Maggs off his glove. So Bush is going to score. Stewart in the third. And it's 9-2.
Well, a little while ago we saw Raul Mondesi in right field pull up on the ball because he didn't want exactly what happened to Maglio to happen. You can get caught in between, and on AstroTurf, you get eaten up. He started to come in, and he got, too close. Either you come in all the way hard, or you stay back. But if you get right where Maglio was, that's exactly what the result's going to be.
So that'll be a single. And an error on Maggs. Infield in, and the count 1-1 to Gonzalez. Well, the psyche of the game today is a little different only because of the fact that, first of all, baseball is an individual game. You got 9 individuals who, if they do things correctly and it comes together, culmination is a collective effort, which translates into team. But we never, you know, you were talking about how you had to have somebody stay with you, whether it be a manager, coach, whatever. The difference was is that most of the guys took the posture, the mental posture back in. There's a base hit. It's 10-2 Blue Jays. They took the posture that they would do it on their own. They didn't need a manager to talk to them or a coach to talk to them. They would just do it on their own. And there is a little bit of the difference in, I think, in what you're saying as opposed to what I experienced.
Well, I had plenty of opportunities and plenty of times in my career that I had to do it myself. But then there were those special occasions where there were the individuals that were in a position to reinforce you, to keep coming to you and letting you know. And I'll give you an example. When I was in Japan, I had a manager there. I got up to a terrible start my first year, and every day, Delgado, big swing through it. Every day, he would come to me while I was struggling and pat me on the back, look at me and go, "You're okay. You're a big leaguer. You're a big leaguer." And it actually took a little while before I finally said to myself, wait a minute, if I'm pressing so hard, trying to do well for this guy, thinking that maybe he's going to have to sit me down because I'm struggling, but he keeps telling me I'm going to be in there every day, so why do I keep putting that pressure on myself? So finally it clicked in my head that he believed in me, so I didn't have to worry about him taking me out of there, and I relaxed and I immediately turned it around.
0-2 the count. I'll tell you the only thing I wanted from a manager, I didn't care if he ever said a word to me. Just put my name in the lineup, that's all.
I think it's definitely changed from
oh, yeah,
from then to now. A lot of players now need some reinforcement from the managers.
It's changed dramatically.
A lot of insecurities at the big league level about their jobs. A lot of players. I mean, there's only the few guys that have long-term contracts that are sitting there thinking, hey, I'm here. I'm here. Well, most guys have to prove themselves every day.
That's the reason I hate long-term contracts.
I agree with you to an extent.
I love that the players are getting paid, and I love what they're making. But I have always been against long-term contracts. I think that one-year contracts, which we'll never see, obviously, again. I mean, we'll just never see that. But I think one-year contracts, if everybody had them, played with them, that we would see a different mindset.
Well, long-term contracts tend to get a guy feeling secure, and maybe he won't work as hard. But I think long-term contracts in the right situation to a person has proven at the big league level every day for years that he wants to play, that he's got a lot of pride, and he puts the numbers up. He deserves a long-term deal, in my opinion. The other guys, the marginal guys that haven't had as much success or proven it, no, I don't think so.
Here's the payoff pitch. Foul, thank you. Boy, the ball absolutely just jumps off this man's bat.
Hey, I'm with you. I don't know. I know I had 19 one-year contracts in my playing career, so you know my motivation was there every year. I don't know how many, if you had a multi-year deal or not.
There's a shot base hit. So Lorenzo getting hit around here as Maggs gets it back in to hold Delgado to a single. One out, runners at the corners.
Well, Delgado hits this ball so hard, and it's off the right field wall on a hop. That's only a single. Maglo had plenty of time to get to the wall, play the ricochet, and get it back in.
So here's Mondesi. A single, a double, and a strikeout, and he scored a pair, and here comes Nardi.
Here's a reminder. The White Sox take on the Tigers on Friday, June 1st at 7:05. First 10,000 fans of the game will receive Big Frank Thomas bobblehead dolls, sponsored by ComEd. For tickets, call 312-8311-SOX.
And before Mondesi steps in, let's pause for station identification.
This is WGN Superstation.
Along with Darrin Jackson, Ken Harrelson from Skydome in beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada. First of a three-game set. That pitch foul back. 20,806. in attendance this afternoon. I mentioned Blue Jays averaging 21,197.
Well, I was here for a couple of months in '93, right after the Jays had won the series in '92. They also won it in '93. This place was rocking. Sellouts every night. It was amazing.
Beauty right on the outside corner. Well, it's in my top 3 cities to visit. My favorite is Seattle. I just love Seattle.
Oh, Seattle, Toronto. What's the other one?
Boston.
I knew you were going there. Your hometown, your place. The house that Hawk built.
As Mondesi goes down for the 2nd time. I love to visit Boston.
Why not? You're a legend there. Good or bad, you're a legend.
Here's Pat Fulmer. 2-run double in first, a walk and run scored in the 3rd, and he popped a short in the 5th. And Toronto is just a magnificent city. So clean, very cosmopolitan.
I love going into Boston with you and walking through the crowd before the game and after. Everybody's heads just turn. Hey, that's Hawk.
You do. That's popped up again. Jose's got him, but there's some more damage done. 3 runs across the plate. We'll go to the 7th, trailing by 8. (10-13-0) for Toronto. 2-4-1 for the Sox. A couple of solo homers for the Sox. One by Ray Durham, his 5th of the season, coming in the 1st. One by Paul Konerko, his 8th of the year, coming in the 2nd. And a defensive change for the Blue Jays. Former Sox outfielder Brian Simmons in the right for Raul Mondesi. So it'll be Leifer, Konerko, and Perry to face Steve Paris.
Steve Paris starting the 7th inning here. If he gets through it and matches season high.
Jeff is flied to center and grounded to first. That ball hit deep into left field. Sanister goes back, looks up. You can put it on the board. Yes! Line shot. Home run. His 2nd of the season and his major league career. And it's 10-3.
Boy, Leaf wasted no time. Just jumped all over that first pitch and hit a laser out of here. That way, Leaf. That pitch is out off the outside corner, and he got to it with authority.
He has really quieted his bat down since last season and even in spring training. As Konerko 1 for 2, that homer. That boy, Leaf.
You hit yourself 100 and some home runs in your career. How many opposite fielders?
I don't know. All with the exception of a couple were off left-handers, though.
So would you say about 10?
No, more. Ball hit hard right to Batista.
Care to take a guess?
I'd say probably 25 or 30. Maybe. But again, they were all off left-handers because I did not try to pull left-handers. I tried to beat them to right field.
That's a good vicinity. I mean, a good number of opposite field home runs then.
Herbert going opposite field, deep. Simmons is there on the track. So 3 balls have been hit hard here off Paris. Top of the 7th. Meanwhile, 2 out, and here comes Singleton. Former Cardinal southpaw Lance Painter. I believe he's born in England.
Christopher, get yourself a hit. He tried to put down a bunt last time. That was actually a good bunt. Been trying for quite a while to get himself a base hit bunt. He has been unsuccessful in even getting one down in fair territory. So today he got one down. It was a decent bunt. Paris got off the mound and just got him by half a step. His AstroTurf, tough to bunt on.
1-2 the count.
You know, it's games just like this. Somehow the guys sitting on the bench have got to realize we're getting smoked. We got to just go ahead and have some fun.
That's exactly right. But it's easier said than done.
But you got to. You have
I agree with you. I'm with you 100%. What you're saying is exactly right. Sit over there and you get down in the dumps, as that's fair ball. Down into the corner. So Simmons does not play the carom correctly. And that'll be a triple for Singleton. For Chris, his first three-bagger of the season.
That'll work. See? Have some fun. He said there's Brian Simmons. That ball just ricocheted and didn't play it right. You can get caught in between out there, just seeing if it's going to just miss it. And if it does, then you got to be ready to cut it off and not let it in that corner. And if it kicks off, it's a tough play. You have to read it just perfectly, and you can't tell until it actually gets by that cut.
It is a tough play. And Sandy fouls it away right side. But I agree with you. You got to have fun in this game. And you gotta have fun and be able to let it go.
Yeah, that's a big word.
No, it is. We both know how big it is. It's easy to say, and it's tough to put into play. There's a chopper two hopper. Batista, that little unusual flip over to first, and that'll do it. But the homer by Jeff Leeper, a second of the season, 7th inning stretch. 10-3 Blue Jays. Right now it's time to check out our Miller Lite Major League scoreboard. As you can see, a very limited slate of action around the big leagues today, and everything else under the lights. Bobby Valentine's Mets taking on the Expos up in Canada. Atlanta, Florida. Houston hosting the Padres. The Dodgers take on the Rockies out in Coors Field, and San Francisco at Big Bob in Phoenix. So Jeff Leeper just cranked out his second Major League homer. A bullet over the left field fence. And a pitching change. Feisty.
Sean Lowe. We're getting a lot of work out of the pen today. Rocky Biddle only went 3, so we're going to use the pen, and it's a 1-0 record for him. 3.97 ERA. He's given up 11 hits. 6 base on balls with 6 strikeouts.
It'll be Batista. Then Cruz. Then Fletcher. Batista, 1 for 3, 2 strikeouts, but the one hit was a 3-run homer. First pitch. Good strike.
That one homer, the straw that broke the camel's back. Just opened it up.
Pops that breaking ball up behind second. Tony Graffinino. Let it go, DJ. Let it go.
That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing some deep breathing. And I'm relaxing. My coach has been working with me. Yeah, letting it go.
Here's Cruz. A single. That knocked in 2 runs. A broken bat single in the first. Grounded to second. And he doubled and scored. Takes first pitch strike.
Hey, you know, it's not easy for you and me to sit up here and see these guys that haven't been able to put it together. We've got to try and keep it in check for ourselves a lot of the time. We're pulling for them very hard.
Yes, it is very difficult when you're closely associated with so many nice guys. We got some good guys on this club, and you don't like to see them fail. You don't like to see them in a slump like this. It hurts.
It definitely does. Like I said earlier, we wish we can do something more than what we We just talk to the guys, listen to them, hear what they have to say, talk baseball to them. But there's not much more we can do.
No.
Coach has got to get them going where they have to be.
That's right. That's their job. Our job is just, as you say, to be there for them if they need an ear. The ball hit hard. So Cruz, 3 for 4.
Well, the guys do come talk to us, you know. They know we've been in the business for quite a while and aren't afraid to just talk baseball with us, which is fun. And sometimes, who knows, you can just tell them a story and something might help them relax and get out on the field and have a little more fun.
Here's Fletcher, 1 for 3. Ground ball should be. Third twin killing. Rack them up, 4 to 6 to 3. Double plays in the third, fourth, and here in the seventh. So we're into the eighth. It is 10-3 Blue Jays.
Time right now to take a look at our Toyota game summary as the Sox are getting smoked 10-3. 14 hits for the Blue Jays, 6 hits for the Sox. Ray Durham, Paul Konerko, and Jeff Leafer have solo home runs to account for the 3 runs. Tony Batista, a 3-run blast in the third. Steve Paris threw 7 innings, matching a season high. 1 base on ball and 6 strikeouts. He came into the game with only 9 on the season. We have a couple of changes. Chris Woodward takes over for Batista at third base. And the new pitcher, Lance Painter, the southpaw. He's 0-1 with a 16.50 ERA. He has 4 games in this season. He's given up 14 hits in 6 innings. That's not good. And a couple of long balls.
So Painter was born Bedford, England. First pitch, strike to Jose. Jose has walked, fly to left, and single sharply into right. Little string on him, and a count 0-2. So a fine job by Steve Paris, who had been struggling, coming in with that 2-3 record, 5.97 ERA. We've seen that a lot this year, as we talked about earlier in the ball game, who have pitchers who have been struggling and all of a sudden come out with a terrific performance. He goes 7 innings, gives up the 3 runs on 6 hits. As Jose is gone.
There's no doubt that pitchers right now, I don't think they have a lot of fear coming in and throwing against our team. I can see that they're not swinging the bats very well. So maybe helping their confidence when they're struggling.
Here's Tony. Tony 1 for 3. Painter just coming right at him.
Painter, you mentioned, played for St. Louis, also was here in Toronto last year. Started his career in the big leagues with the Rockies. Beginning of this season was major league record of 24-16 with a 5.14 ERA.
The 0-2 pitch. So he strikes out Valentin. He strikes out Graffinino, and here's Ray. Ray 1 for 3 at a first inning opposite field homer. Fastball strike outside corner. Activity down in the Sox pen. Right-hander Bobby Howery. That's low. And the count 1-2. Painter making it look easy. In, out. In, out. Change of speed. Fastball, curve, change.
Well, he's got some confidence out on the hill today. He's just, like you said, coming right at the hitters.
Down ball. Chris Woodward. 1, 2, 3. And after 7.5, not good.
Chicago White Sox baseball has been brought to you by Cold Filtered Miller Genuine Draft. Never miss a genuine opportunity. Your local Ford store. Quality people, quality products. The Illinois Lottery, where players have more fun. Pepsi, the joy of Pepsi. And by Toyota, a better way every day.
7-run differential as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning and a pitching change for the Sox. For Sean Lowe, it'll be Bobby Howard.
Let's have a look at Big Bob's numbers. He's 2-2 with a 5.17 ERA in 15 games. He's given up 20 hits in 15 2/3. 1 long one, 6 base on balls, and 13 punch outs.
So Homer Bush, 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored, will lead it off. Homer in the season is 12 for 26.
Wouldn't Homer Bush be a great name if he was a home run hitter?
As you said, you got to have some fun, you know.
Well, it would. That is a true baseball name, Homer Bush. You just automatically assume, if you've never seen him or didn't see his stats, that that guy had to be a long ball hitter.
Yeah, you'd think he was about 6'4", 6'5", weighed about 240, 250. But no.
Just a line drive, base stealing, second baseman.
1-2 the count. Yeah, the Sox, maybe the off day will help them tomorrow. And then they'll come back here Wednesday and Thursday to conclude this 3-game set against Toronto. On Wednesday, David Wells against Joey Hamilton. Thursday, Kip Wells against Chris Carpenter.
I remember a couple of years ago, 99, Homer absolutely wore us out.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, we couldn't get him out, and he beat us with big hits.
He's 3 for 4.
Flashback 99 for Homer Bush against the White Sox. And that's what he did a lot of. Bullets right back up the middle. Today, all 3 of his hits right back through the box.
Shannon Stewart, he's 2 for 4. Last 2 times up, he is just scalded.
And his shots have been to the right side of the infield. One, Trinoko making a diving stab to knock it down. The other, a shot in the right field.
Out of play right side, 1-1. Oh, Bobby. Turn him over.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Roll him up.
Coming out of spring training, you'd have thought that our bullpen would be very, very solid from what we saw last year. The rotation was going to be strong with the addition of David Wells, and the hitters were going to be unbelievable. I don't know how much of that we've had of either of those 3 categories.
man can only do what a man can do.
Nardi Contreras. He puts his time in. A lot of work by Nardi trying to get things figured out.
Ate him up right there. Little looper. Good pitch by Bobby. 1 out. So that'll bring up the shortstop, Alex Gonzalez. Alex is 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored. In case you're just tuning in, these uniforms by Toronto and the Sox. Well, it was turn back the clock day here, and these uniforms by Toronto, the 77 replicas. Sox were supposed to wear their replicas of 77. But the jerseys were strong.
I think a couple of players snuck in and put some stuff in there they weren't supposed to.
Well, you know, the thing about it is when you're on a 6-game losing streak, the last thing you want to do is come in and wear some uniforms that you don't like.
So in other words, make it look like a clown or something?
No. I love turn back the clock day. I really do. But preferably when you're on a winning streak.
Well, I don't recall exactly the 77 uniforms, but you do, and I'm sure in the Sox history they've had some unique uniforms.
Well, they weren't going to wear the shorts.
Was that from 77 shorts? Because I tell you,
It was.
when I saw that back in that day, I go, you got to be kidding.
You weren't even. You were in diapers then. Checks it up, fouls it off.
Couldn't believe guys are going to be sliding in those shorts.
I'll tell you what, if I'd had to wear them, I would have been. I'd have had knee pads on.
Heck, I wore a knee pad to slide even when I had long pants on.
The only time I wore knee pads was on my right knee facing certain left-handers like Gary Peters. Because they were going to try to take your kneecap off.
That slider.
That slider. A little bit low. 2-2. Gary Peters and Mickey Lolich of the Tigers, they just try to get strong right-handed hitters up there, and they just try to take that kneecap off. Full count with Carlos Delgado on deck. Canerco playing behind Homer Bush at first base. 10-15-0 for Toronto. 3-6-1 for the Sox. Third walk issued by Sox pitching. And here comes Delgado. He's 1 for 3. He hit a bullet of one hopper off the wall. Hit it so hard, Mags had plenty of time to hold him to a single.
This is flashback 77. Dave, give me some of your flashbacks from that year.
77.
Aside from the good music.
Well, that was my flashbacks really when I think about 77 with the Yankees.
Well, give me some.
Well, they had a very competitive team. I believe they beat the Dodgers in the World Series that year. Reggie hit 3 home runs in a game. And Piniella, Munson. Big hack by Delgado. And of course in 78 they came back from 14.5 games back at the All-Star break against a good Boston Red Sox club. Not an outstanding ball club. Not a good one. An outstanding Boston Red Sox club. And forced a playoff. And went on and won another World Series.
I recall the back-to-back victories over the Dodgers. Yeah, I was in L.A. growing up at that time. I was a big Reggie Jackson fan, so I remember the 3 consecutive home runs off 3 different pitchers.
Foul tipped it, and the count 1-2. 77 was a fun season. Well, that was a competitive ball club, that Yankee team, led by Munson and Piniella. Just off the corner.
What other big stars? They had Guidry.
Yeah, and well, Gator had his big year in '78. He was 25-3 and also won 3 postseason games, so he was 28-3 that year.
Also had Willie Randolph, Craig Nettles.
Craig Nettles, one of the best third basemen to ever play the game defensively. That's popped up in the left. Jeff Leeper. 2 down.
Mickey Rivers.
For 77 was it Dick Allen? George Bell. There's a ground ball. And that'll do it. So Bobby pitches out of it. Meanwhile, we got 3 outs to try to do something. Top of the 9th inning, 10-3 Toronto. It'll be Maggs, Leefer, and Canerco to face Lance Painter. Maggs 0 for 3. First pitch fastball outside. Sox with 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the 7th. All solo homers by Durham, Canerco, and Leefer. Blue Jays with 4 in the first, 3 in the third, and 3 in the 6th. Maggs, get yourself a knock. Ball hit hard in the right center field. Cruz racing over. He's there. Makes the catch. And talking about flashbacks from '77, the Polish Prince. This one out of the ballpark. So he went into center field bleachers and then over the roof. The White Sox player to ever do that.
A couple of bombs right there.
I guess.
Wow.
Leefer takes strike 1.
Remind me of my power days.
Yeah, with that Titleist Pro V and that paying driver. That's fouled away. It's the only way you're going to get into that center field.
No.
Bleachers are over the roof.
Talking about taking batting practice with an aluminum bat.
Still ain't good enough.
All right.
Not enough ammo in there.
All right. Hey, I'm trying.
You need a 45, maybe 48-inch driver, long tee. Drops down with a little breaking ball. He misses. Yeah, I didn't like those uniforms. Nor did the players.
There's the ones with the collars, right? With the big butterfly collars like you used to wear on your suits.
Yeah. I have to admit it.
I've seen the suits. I've seen the pictures. I've enjoyed the chuckle here and there.
That's the 3rd strikeout for Painter. Yeah, one of my buddies told me he remembers my bell bottoms being so wide that I had to take 2 steps before the pants would start to move.
Yeah, you had tents on the bottom of your legs, huh?
So here's Polly. Polly is 8th homer in the 2nd inning. On the corner. Painter's doing a little painting out there.
He is. He's making some pitches. He's got a little pop on that fastball.
Yeah, he does.
So that 16.5 ERA he came in with in 6 innings. Not evident by the way he's throwing.
Sox down to our last bullet. 2 outs and 1-2 count. Good rip. Good pass at it. 20,806 in attendance. Boy, it's been a fun game for them. Not so much for us.
No, it has definitely not been a lot of fun for the Sox or their fans today. They'll come back, tee it up again day after tomorrow.
Yep, the off day tomorrow. And the count goes full with Herbert Perry on deck. Painter places 6 hitters, retires everybody he sees with 4 strikeouts as the Blue Jays have sent the Sox down to their 7th consecutive defeat. They win it 10-3, and we'll be back. Let's check out our Miller Jr. Draft play of the game coming in the 3rd inning. Toronto leading 4-2, 2 men on, nobody out, and Tony Batista at the plate. Feisty.
Well, right in his wheelhouse, a fastball up and in, and with that wide open stance, hands on the inner part of the plate, he just got the hands through, the barrel snapped, and bye-bye.
And the final totals in the first of this 3-game set. For the Blue Jays, 10 runs, 15 hits, no errors. They stranded 5. For the Sox, 3 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. We left but 3. Paris the winner, 3-3. Biddle takes a loss. He is 1-4. And we've had a lot of requests on an interview we did with Ernie Harwell, the great Hall of Fame announcer for the Detroit Tigers. And what we're going to do while we have a little time here is once again take you back to that interview with Hall of Fame announcer Ernie Harwell.
Ernie, you started off your major league career, well, a lot of people don't know, with the Brooklyn Dodgers back in 1948.
48's right, Hawk. I was working for the Crackers, and Red Barber got sick, and Earl Mann was my boss, and Branch Rickey called him and said, I'd like for Ernie to come up and replace Red. And Earl Mann said, well, that's all right, Mr. Rickey, but he's under contract with me, and if you really want him, you trade me your catcher, Cliff Dapper, for him. So I was traded for a minor league catcher, and that's the way I got to the big leagues.
Well, you were actually the first announcer traded. I think there have been 2 other occasions of that ilk, so to speak.
Yep.
But you were the first guy to ever be traded for a player.
That's right, and working for Branch Rickey was a great experience. I went up when Jackie Robinson had just broken the color line in '48. He had a great year the next year. He won the batting title, and the Dodgers won the pennant. So I got in at a good time in a great ballpark, Ebbets Field.
Well, let's just talk just a second about Jackie, because of the fact that I didn't know you were there when you know, now that. But when Jackie came in, you know, so much has been made of that the last 2 years of the 50-year anniversary. That had to be something for you too, because there was a lot of vulgar things back in those days.
Oh yeah, and it was still going on by the time I got there, and I think that's probably the most significant thing that has happened in American sports since it started. Jackie breaking the color line, and he made way for all the other great players to follow, in not only in baseball but in all the other sports.
And in life, and in our society, you know, in general.
Yeah.
Also, you were with the Orioles and the Giants, and you happened to see Bobby Thompson's right at 51.
Yeah, that was sort of crazy. Russ Hodges and I were broadcasting for the Giants. We were alternating on radio and TV, and it was my turn on TV on October the 3rd, and I felt sorry for Russ because there were 5 radio broadcasts, and I figured poor old Russ is going to get lost, you know, on the radio. I'm doing the TV. It's coast to coast, the first sports series ever telecast coast to coast, and I'll be part of a historic moment. Well, a guy in Jersey who hated the Giants taped Russ's 9th inning.
Backer throws. There's a long back. It's going to be, I believe. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant. Bobby Thompson hits into the very back of the left field stand. The Giants win the pennant, and they're going crazy. They're going crazy.
And Russ Hodges saying the Giants win the pennant, the Giants win the pennant, became the most famous sports broadcast of all time. I was on TV. In those days, we didn't have any replay or any recording at all, and only Mrs. Harwell and I know I was on that afternoon.
Ernie, is that one of the great thrills you've ever had outside of being inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, it was fantastic. I tell you, that one blow that Thompson hit, you know, the whole pennant rode on it. They'd had a tie race, they'd had a playoff, and this was a climax, and 2 great teams in New York City with all the interest focused on them.
Well, you joined the Tigers, and most people, that's the only thing they associate you with, of course, is the Detroit Tigers, and that's my recollection of Ernie Harwell as well. You joined them in 1960, and in my opinion, the Detroit Tigers have been one of the great organizations in the history of this game. They have always had tradition here. They have had some great players. They always played hard. They played clean. And let me just mention a couple of years to you and have you recollect a little bit. When it was especially dear to me, obviously, is 1967 when we had, the Tigers and the White Sox and the Twins and the Red Sox.
Great race. Probably the best race I've ever seen.
That's what I was going to ask you. Was that the best one you've ever seen?
Yeah, we went into that last week, Hawk, and I think there were about 4 clubs there within half a game of each other. And I felt that the White Sox would probably win it. But they had some trouble in Kansas City. I think they lost a couple of doubleheaders there.
Yeah, Catfish Hunter and Chuck Dobson beat them in a doubleheader.
And then, of course, Boston went on to win it, and the Tigers came close. And the Tigers had a real chance. They had 2 doubleheaders the last 2 days, and they divided each doubleheader. If they'd won one more game, they would have been in there.
Well, we beat the Minnesota Twins the last 2 days on Saturday and Sunday at Fenway Park, and after the game was over, we're in the clubhouse, and we're listening to you guys play the California Angels, and George Brunette was pitching. And Dick McAuliffe had not hit into a double play the whole year, and he hits into one, and we win the pennant.
And that was it.
Yeah,
isn't that amazing?
Mr. Yawkey was standing, about 4 or 5 feet from me, and Yastrzemski and Mr. Yawkey, when McAuliffe hit into that double play, I mean, they just hugged each other, and there was such a camaraderie there.
You guys had a great team, too,
Well, Yastrzemski that year had the best year I've ever seen one offensive player have in a season.
Oh, he had a fantastic year.
He came in here and just
pitching.
And Lonborg won 22 games for us. How about now the next year, 68, with you guys?
Well, that was good. The Tigers in 68 figured they got so close in 67 they could win it in 68. And they played very well. It was sort of a come-from-behind team featuring Denny McClain, who won 31, and Mickey Lolich. And you had a lot of power on that team. You had Freehand, Northrup, and Willie Horton, and a lot of guys could swing the bat. But, they didn't have a 300 hitter. I think Horton was the leading hitter. He hit about 285 that year. But they had good balance. They had good defense, and they had a lot of power.
Well, Mickey Lolich was certainly the guy in the series winning those 3 ball games. But still, my all-time, I played against the Tigers for a long time, and my all-time player was number 6.
Oh, no question about it. Al Kaline was a consummate Tiger. he could do everything well. And he had such a high degree of consistency. I don't think people appreciated how good he really was, because he was always good. He didn't have those peaks and valleys that most players do, those ups and downs. And in my mind's eye, Hawk, I remember Kaline chasing the ball in the corner, grabbing it, a base hit, turning, pivoting, and firing into second base, and that guy better not try to get to second. He'd be out.
Well, I'll tell you, my first encounter with Al Kaline when I was a rookie, I was 20 years old. We were playing the Tigers in Bradenton, Florida. And, I had decent speed, and I was on first base, and somebody hit a ball in the right field for a base hit, and I'm on my way to third. I'm going to make it into third base. All of a sudden, I look up, and Don Wirt was the third baseman, and he's got the ball about 8 feet before I get there. I couldn't believe it. So now our dugout was the first base dugout, so I'm going back across the field, and here I am, a rookie, and Al Kaline in right field screaming at me, "You rookie, so you know what? Don't you ever try to run on me." And then you take the uniform and the jockstrap off Al Kaline, put him in street clothes, and he's the most mildest, Clark
what
Kent.
A gentleman, what a great guy.
Yeah.
I work with him on TV now, He's a terrific guy, and we have a good time together.
How about the 84 club?
84 team was a lot different than most. It got out in front in every game, and then it had that terrific 35-5 record in the first 40 games. Nobody came close. The Blue Jays got within about 7 games a couple of times, and then they fell back, and then they won the playoff with Kansas City, swept the playoffs, and then they beat San Diego with ease in the World Series. Everything you could ask of a team, that team did.
And they had another great Tiger on that ball club, Alan Trammell.
Oh, yeah, Alan Trammell, Whitaker, Lance Parrish, Jack Morris had a great year. Milt Wilcox had a good year. Wilcox almost pitched a perfect game. Morris had a no-hitter. And again, it was a matter of defense and good pitching and enough hitting to keep them going.
Ernie, in all your years in baseball, have you ever seen a base runner run the bases harder than Kirk Gibson?
I don't think so. No, he really had the old verve and the spirit and the competitive urge, didn't he? Of all the guys I've seen, I think he'd probably be one of the #1 competitors. I think Jackie Robinson was pretty much like that. He was a little more contained maybe than Kirk, but he was exciting. He'd dance off the bag, and he would force the opposition to make a lot of mistakes, and he was a very charismatic player too, but both of them were, for that matter.
Well, I know you've seen all the great pitchers certainly in the last 59 years, but if you had to take one or two, the guys that really stand out in Ernie Harwell's mind pitching, if you had to have somebody go out there in the 7th game of the World Series or win a game for your family's life, who would be the couple guys?
Well, I'd have a couple of them. I think my left-handers would probably be Warren Spahn, who won more games than any left-hander, and Sandy Koufax, who was so dominant over a short period. And as a right-hander, I think I'd have to take Bob Gibson. I don't think I've seen anybody any more intimidating and looked like he had the game under control any more than Gibson did.
Well, I agree, and also in the way you presented that too, because in baseball, everybody tries to put so much under an umbrella, and you can't do it. And I agree with you 100%, because when you're talking about great pitchers, in my opinion, you also have to talk about left-handed starters, left-handed relievers, right-handed starters, right-handed relievers, because they're different. And the game, certainly in the 50 years now, the game has really changed a lot since you had that set lineup, and that starter was going to go 8 or 9 innings. Now it's all specialized.
Yeah, and we've got guys like, I think Wilhelm and some of those great relief pitchers came on and fingers and set that up. Of course, the Yankees had great relievers long ways back into the 20s to Wilcie Moore. But now you've got pitching by committee, and the closer is probably one of the most important guys on your team. Whereas when I broke in 1948 in the big leagues, a guy in the bullpen was either had a sore arm or he was being punished because he didn't do a good job as a starter.
Yeah, that's the way we used to. When I first came into the league in '63, it was the same thing. The bullpen was made up of guys who were starters for the most part, who just weren't getting the job done, and the bullpen was really a place that you did not want to be, because that meant failure.
Now you can be the big star and be in the bullpen.
Ernie, what about also some of the great hitters that you've seen? Of course, Ted Williams, he's
well,
got to be
I think you got to start with Ted Williams. I don't think there's any question about that. He's probably the consummate hitter, and I think Tony Gwynn's right up there, and of course Rod Carew had some great years. He was a fantastic player for that first year.
Ernie, you and I could sit here with you, I should say, put it that way, all day long and talk baseball. And as far as I'm concerned, you are Mr. Baseball. You're my all-time favorite announcer, and thanks so much for the time.
Well, thanks, Hawk. Good to see you again.
Hall of Famer Ernie Harwell.
Once again, it's 10-3 Blue Jays. So for my partner, DJ Darrin Jackson, this is a Hawk and Harrelson. So long, everybody.